Jesse Ventura was considering running for president in 2020. Now, obviously, he decided against it. My understanding was it was kind of up in the air what path he would go, because it was possible he'd run as an independent. I think when he became governor, he won as an independent, so he might run as an independent. He was considering running on the Green Party ticket, so he was heavily considering it, and ultimately decided against. I'm sure there was a variety of reasons that went into his decision, but he would have been quite the option. He would have been quite the option, because here's a video. This popped up on my Twitter feed. I wanted to share it with everybody. He's got a show on RT, and this is a legendary Jesse Ventura rant that you're going to have the pleasure of seeing.
Let me make this statement. There shouldn't be one billionaire. There should not be one person worth $1 billion. And I know that's shocking hearing it come from me, but the older I get, the more flaws I see in capitalism and the more good things sometimes I see in more socialism. And let me explain on this. What can one do to earn $1 billion? I had at one time what I considered the toughest job I've ever did in my life. I was right out of high school. I had a job with the Minnesota State Highway Department bridge crew, and my job was running the 90-pound jackhammer. You know, all day long on the street. That is the hardest job on the planet. You find me one that's physically or mentally tougher, and I was barely making above minimum wage. And you're telling me that these billionaires who are now doubling their money, doubling their wealth, that they work harder physically than someone spending 8 to 10 hours a day on a jackhammer? Bull crap is what I got to say to that. They earn their money by pushing pencils, and they don't even need to use deodorant, because none of them ever sweat, I doubt it, at work. There should not be a billionaire, and I'm going on record to state this. Everybody talks about a minimum wage, a minimum wage, a minimum wage. I say it's time for a maximum wage. How about $12 million a year, $1 million a month? If you can't live on $12 million a year, $1 million a month, maybe we should bring back capital punishment. Well, they already have, haven't they?
God damn. That is what I like to call populist rage. That's what we just saw right there. Jesse Ventura is a fascinating person. He really is, in so many ways. I mean, of course, there are aspects of his ideology that I disagree with, but it's fun to watch. He's already on the left. It's fun to see an even bigger turn to the left. I find that exciting. So let's go through some of what he says here. He says there shouldn't be one billionaire. So, basically we can and should tax everything over a net worth of $1 billion. I mean, I think that's a debatable idea, but I certainly don't think it's crazy. And if anybody tries to act like, that's insane, is it really? Is it really? Because that gets to his next point, which is, how does one actually earn $1 billion? It sort of rips the mask off of this idea that we have a meritocracy. Of course we don't have a meritocracy. It's not even close to a meritocracy. I think on some level, people understand and respect the notion of a meritocracy, which basically means the harder you work, the further you go. Everybody thinks there's something that's sort of inherently fair about that. But the real light bulb moment for a lot of people that makes them become leftists is when you realize that not only do we not have a meritocracy, we're not even close to living in a meritocracy. And it's not the case that the harder you work, the further you go. Oftentimes, and he makes this point beautifully, some of the hardest working people get paid next to nothing. I've told the story before on air, but for me, anecdotally, I saw there was somebody who I went to high school with, and he dropped out and he was working all these odd jobs. He was the hardest working guy I'd ever seen. He was working 2 or 3 jobs all the time. And he still could barely make the rent. And it was just such a clear example of like, here's this guy with this work ethic, second to none, really putting his everything into these jobs he's doing. And he's barely getting by. And, you know, I've seen the opposite a zillion times too. Somebody who has this high-paid, cushy job, and they sit around all day in an office and twiddle their thumbs. Like, we all know that that's the case. So it's weird that anybody ever pretends that, like, no, the system's fair and we live in a meritocracy. I actually think the goal of intelligent social democratic policy is to make it more of a meritocracy after all the basic needs are met. So, like, yes, if you take care of people's health care and their education, and you give them paid vacation time, and you give them some form of social security, fair wages, after you set the floor fairly, then it's like, I'm cool with the harder you work, the further you go. And if you don't make it, I say, hey, we gave you a fair shot. You know, you had everything you needed to give it a fair shot. And that's what I think social democracy offers. I think it gets us closer to what's an actual meritocracy. But what we have now, this hyper-capitalism or rank corporatism, corrupt corporatism, it's honestly, in many ways, it's the anti-meritocracy. The hardest working people do barely get by, if they get by at all. And some of the laziest, most entitled people are at the top of the system. I mean, how much money, some insanely high percentage of wealth is inherited. So, you know, mommy or daddy could be massively wealthy and they just hand you hundreds of millions of dollars in some cases. And it's like, you didn't do anything. You did nothing. You did nothing to earn any of that. So, like, it's an anti-meritocracy. You could work really hard and have nothing, or you could be born into wealth and be at the top. Or you could, like Donald Trump, fail up his entire life, inherited a shitload of money, went bankrupt a number of times, but failed up and was given this endless line of credit from financial institutions. So in many ways, it really is the anti-meritocracy, which shows you the system's a mess. And so I like Jesse Ventura's idea there at the end was fascinating. He said, we're always talking about a minimum wage. What about a maximum wage? $12 million a year, which is $1 million a month. It's funny because I never thought of it like that, but it's true. $12 million a year really is $1 million a month. That's a lot of money per month, isn't it? And he's like, if you can't live off that, maybe we should bring the guillotine back, son. Oh shit. Jesse Ventura is hitting some uncharted territory here. You know, you got people, hardcore lefties online are watching this like, that's my man right now. Oh, Jesse, what a fascinating character. He's going to lead the revolution, man. He's going to lead the socialist revolution. He literally says there, the older I get, the more flaws I see in capitalism and the more good I see in socialism. Jesse Ventura's getting bread pilled, dog. This is quite a video.